We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Aleph on Beis in Meseches Kiddushin. This is Kiddushin Daf 51b. On the previous summer, there was a machlokas amoroim. What if you have a Kiddushin she'ein mesurin labia? That's a Kiddushin that cannot lead to a permitted act of relations. Rava said that's not a Kiddushin, and Abaya said that is a Kiddushin. And Abaya brought a proof from the beginning of the Mishnah. The Mishnah seems to indicate that it is a good Kiddushin. That was a question on Rava, and Rava is now bringing from the end of the Mishnah. From the end of the Mishnah, we have to say, what is the explanation? Alalav, rather than not, to Amar lahu achas mikem. The case is over there. The case at the end of the Mishnah was a person who was Mekadesh 5 women, and among the 5 women was 2 sisters. And you have to say the case is not that he was trying to be Mekadesh all 5 of them, because then the Kiddushin would not work at all. Rather, the case is he's saying a Kiddushin to one of you. And Rashi explains, Elalav achas mikem, delav at v'chamorhu. It's not like a case of you and the donkey. Again, that was the case on the previous summit. If a person tries to give a gift to a person that's born, a regular person, and to a fetus, so since the fetus can acquire, and if he's saying that the 2 kinyonim are dependent on one another, so then there's no acquisition whatsoever. And the same thing would be true by the case of the 5 women. If it's going to be dependent that the Kiddushin works with all 5, and 2 of them are sisters, that's certainly not going to work. So it must be dim kidesh zu lo kidesh zu. Again, if you have a situation where it has to be all of them, if there's no Kiddushin for this one, there's no Kiddushin for that one, then nothing is going to work. So it must be that he says one of you. He says to the 5 women, the Kiddushin is going to be only for one of you. V'katani, and what does it say at the end of the Mishnah? Ein achayos mekudashos. It says that the sisters, their Kiddushin is not good. All the other Kiddushins are still good, but the Kiddushin to the 2 sisters are not good. Why are they not good? Presumably, says Rava, because of exactly what Rava holds. Because it's Kiddushin shein mesurin labia, and you see that's not a Kiddushin. L'Rava kasha reish. And so the Gemara says, according to Rava, the beginning of the Mishnah is difficult, and Li'abaya kasha seif, according to Abaya, the end of the Mishnah is difficult. In other words, the beginning of the Mishnah seems to indicate that Kiddushin shein mesurin labia would be a good Kiddushin. That seems to indicate against Rava. And the end of the Mishnah, that seems to indicate Kiddushin shein mesurin labia is not a good Kiddushin. That seems to be against Abaya. And the Gemara answers, Abaya mitaretz l'taimei, Rava mitaretz l'taimei. Abaya answers according to his reasoning, and Rava can answer according to his reasoning. Abaya mitaretz l'taimei, Abaya will answer according to his reasoning as follows. HaMekadesh isha uvita, again, that's the beginning of the Mishnah. If somebody's Mekadesh, a woman and her daughter, that's a mother and daughter. O isha v'achosa ka'achas, or let's say a woman and her sister, 2 sisters, and again, that Kiddushin is taking place at once. Einon mekudasha. So we said at the beginning of the Mishnah, that's not a good Kiddushin. He's trying to be Mekadesh them simultaneously. And so then we inferred from the Mishnah, ha'achas me'isha uvita, but if it would be one of the mother and daughter, or me'isha v'achos, or let's say it would be one of the 2 sisters, so then mikudashas, the implication is that it seems to be a good Kiddushin. V'yamamar haru'uya labia teskadish li. Now what you add in the Mishnah according to Abaya is as follows. That first part of the Mishnah is perfect according to Abaya, because that's a case of Kiddushin she'ein mesurin labia, and yet it's still going to be a good Kiddushin. If he says one of the 2 sisters, one of the mother and the daughter, even though it's ein mesurin labia, it's still a good Kiddushin. But now Abaya adds in again, v'mamar haru'uya labia teskadish li. If he says that I'm only having a Kiddushin with the one who is fit to have bia, so then ain't a mikudesha. So then already he's putting a condition in that it has to be that there's a permitted act of relations, so then obviously will not be a good Kiddushin. And so then again, according to Abaya, that's also part of how you change the end of the Mishnah. It's also talking about where there is this condition that it has to be ru'uya labia, umay sanami. There was an incident also, b'chamesh nashim uvehen shtei achayos, there were 5 women, and among the 5 women were 2 sisters. V'lika en echad kalkala shel ta'enim, and one man collected a basket of figs. V'yomer, he said, haru'uya li mikem teskadish li, whoever is fit to me from you, it should be a Kiddushin. And so again, he's putting in that condition, it has to be fit for bia. V'yamru chacham, and the chachamim said, ein achayos mekudashos, that the sisters, the Kiddushin for the sisters is not going to be good. That's how Abaya will understand the end of the Mishnah. And then the question again was, according to Rava, how does he understand the beginning of the Mishnah? And the Gemara explains, V'Rava mitaretz l'taimei, Rava will answer according to his reasoning. HaMekadesh achas me'isha uvita, if somebody's Mekadesh one of a woman and her daughter, o achas me'isha v'achosa, or if somebody's Mekadesh one of a woman and her sister, meaning one of 2 sisters, so that's nasa k'misha kiddush isha uvita. That's the same thing as trying to be Mekadesh a woman and her daughter at once. O isha v'achosa ka'achas, or a woman and her sister at once, which of course course is not good. Ve'enon mikudashos, and it's not a good kiddushin. In other words, according to Rava, the Reish is talking about exactly his case. It's talking where a person is trying to be mekadesh them simultaneously. It's saying when one is mekadesh one of the two of them, and that's a kiddushin shein mesur and labia. That's the same as trying to be mekadesh them simultaneously, and it will not be a good kiddushin for exactly Rava's reason that kiddushin shein mesur and labia is not kiddushin. U'ma'asanami, and then the Mishnah goes on to say there's an incident like this as well. V'chamesh nashim u'vahem shtei achayis. You have 5 women, and among the 5 women are 2 sisters. V'liked echad kalkola shel te'enim, and one man collected a basket of figs. V'yamar, he said, Arei kulchem bi'achas mishtei achayos mikudashos li. He says, all of you and one from the 2 sisters is going to be mikudashos to me. Bekalkola zu, with this basket. V'yamru chachamim, and the chachamim said, Ein achayos mikudashos. The kiddushin for the sisters is not good because again it's a kiddushin shein mesur and labia. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come here a proof from a Mishnah later on. Hamakadesh is bito stam. Let's say a person gives away his daughter to Kiddushin stam, meaning to say we don't know which daughter he gave away to Kiddushin. Ein habogros bechlal. So the adult daughters, they're not included. You don't assume that he gave them away because he has no authority to give away in Kiddushin his daughters that are adults. So the question is only going to be in terms of the katanos. You have to assume that the girls that are minors, they may all be mikudashos. You don't know which one of them he gave away to Kiddushin. And that's what the Gemara says, hakatanos bechlal. It sounds like the minors, the daughters who are minors, they are included, and we have a real suffix over here. We don't know which one of his daughters, which is a minor, which one of them have a kiddushin. And the Gemara says, v'amai, but according to Rava, why should this be the case? Kiddushin shein mesur and labiyun, and isn't this the case of kiddushin, which cannot lead to an act of relations, because again, with every single girl, it's a suffix if this is the one that's mikudeshes, or if this is the sister of the girl who is mikudeshes. And the Gemara says, utufta de Rava, and therefore it seems to be a refutation of Rava. It seems like the kiddushin is chal, even though this is a kiddushin shein mesur and labiyah. And the Gemara says, Amar lach Rava, Rava will respond to you. Ha'acha b'mayaskin, and here what are we talking about? K'she'ein sham ela gedola katana. The Mishnah's case is there's only 2 daughters. There's a girl that's an adult, there's a daughter that's an adult, and then there's also a daughter who's a minor. And the Mishnah is saying, obviously it's not the daughter who's an adult, because he doesn't even have the authority to give her away to kiddushin, so therefore we know that it's his daughter that's a minor. And the Gemara says, ha-bogros katani, but the language of the Mishnah is bogros, which implies plural, implies there's more than one adult daughter. And the Gemara says, no, my bogros dialma. What does it mean, bogros? It just means bogros in general. It doesn't mean to say that this person has more than one adult daughter. It just means in general, among the girls, ein ha-bogros, girls who are adults, would not be included. Rashi says, "Bogros katani tuv." It sounds like there's a lot of adult girls. Sounds like then there would be more than one minor, more than one daughter that's a minor as well. And the Gemara says, no, bogros di alma just means in general adult daughters are not included. Kol ish sheyesh lo bas bogeres, any man who has a daughter who's an adult, ein osan habogros bechlal kiddushin shekibel avia. So if the father received kiddushin on behalf of his daughters, certainly the adult daughter would not be included. That's all it means. But the Gemara says, so then what's the chiddush? If you're going to say that we're talking about the fact that there's just one adult daughter and there's one minor daughter, so of course it means the katana. The Gemara says, no, and here what are we talking about? The shavise shliach. What actually happened was the daughter that's an adult appointed her father to be a shliach. So there is a possibility that the father was accepting a kiddushin on her behalf. What might you have said? Maybe the kiddushin he accepted was on, he was thinking of her, he was thinking of the daughter that appointed him a shliach. Kamash malon, so that's what the Mishnah is teaching. A person is not going to abandon something which gives him benefit, meaning when a person gives away his young daughter, his daughter who's a minor in kiddushin, he gets to keep the money. He's not going to give that away and instead do a kiddushin for his daughter as an adult where she's the one that gets the money. And so therefore that's how we know that it is the younger daughter, the daughter that's a minor, that was given away to kiddushin. But the Gemara says, Milo askinan da amr le kiddusha lididach, but aren't we dealing with a case in the Mishnah where the adult daughter not only appointed him a shliach, but she said you could keep the kiddushin, you're able to keep the money, and so then therefore we still do have a suffix, which one of his daughters did he give away in kiddushin? And the Gemara says, Afilu achi, nevertheless, lo shavik inish mitzvah deram yoleh, a person's not going to abandon the mitzvah that's upon him, only he's able to give away his daughter who's a minor, v'yavid mitzvah de lo ram yoleh, and then do a mitzvah that he really didn't need to do, because his adult daughter could have taken care of herself. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here, another proof, this is also from the Mishnah later on, Misha yeshlo shtei kitei banos, let's say a person has 2 groups of daughters, mishtei nashim, from 2 different wives, V'yomer, and he says, Kidashti es biti hagedola, v'eni yodeyam gedola shebegedolos, v'im gedola shebektanos. He says, I gave away my daughter to Kiddushin, my daughter who's the gedola, who's the oldest one, but I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the oldest of the oldest group of daughters, or was it the oldest of the younger group of daughters, or im ketana shebegedolos, or maybe it was the youngest of the older group of daughters. She gedola min hagedola shebektanos. She happens to be older than the oldest one of the younger group of daughters. So in that case, he has a doubt. He has no idea which girl was given away to Kiddushin. So the halacha is kul and asuros, they're all forbidden, chutz mi ketana shebektanos, except for the youngest of the youngest group of daughters. She certainly was not part of the suffix. She certainly was not part of the doubt. Divrei Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Rabbi Meir. That's Rabbi Meir's opinion. And in this case as well, it's exactly the same kind of case. It's obviously Kiddushin she'ein mesurin labia. He's not going to be able to have relations with any of these daughters because it might be the sister of the woman that is mikudeshes to him, and so therefore it seems that we see that Kiddushin she'ein mesurin labia is a good Kiddushin, because we're saying over here kul and asuros. We're saying that the Kiddushin is chal for all of them. It's a suffix on all of them, whether each one is mikudeshes. And the Gemara says, Hacha b'mayaskin, and here what are we dealing with? Kishahukru levasof nitzarvu. The case over here isn't where at the time of the Kiddushin there was a doubt, and we don't know which one of the daughters is being given away to Kiddushin. The case is at the time of the Kiddushin it was hukru, it was clear which daughter, ulevasof nitzarvu, then afterwards it got mixed up, afterwards we forgot, we're not sure which one of the daughters was given away to Kiddushin. There certainly was a Kiddushin over here, and the Mishnah is saying it's a situation of suffix. And the Gemara says, Deikanami will bring a proof as well from the wording of the Mishnah, the Katani Eini Yodea, because the language is, I don't know which one of them. Velo Katani Eini Yodua doesn't say it's not known, meaning to say it was known, it was clear at the time of the Kiddushin, but right now I don't know which one of the daughters was given away to Kiddushin. And the Gemara says, Shema Mino, indeed you do see from the language of the Mishnah that this has nothing to do with Kiddushin Shein Mesur and Labia. At the time of the Kiddushin, it certainly was a Kiddushin, it's just that the suffix developed later on. But the Gemara continues, Yihachi, if so, my lamemer. So again, what's the chiddush? Obviously, in this situation, we're going to say that there's a doubt, and all of the daughters that are included in the doubt are going to be prohibited. And the Gemara says, no, we do need to teach this halacha la'afukim mid Rabbi Yossi, because it's to exclude Rabbi Yossi's opinion. Diamar lo moches inish nafshe l'sveika. Rabbi Yossi says a person will never put himself in a situation of doubt. Meaning, if a person is going to phrase it that he's giving away his oldest daughter, according to Rabbi Yossi, it certainly means the oldest daughter of the oldest group. A person will never phrase something in a way that will lead to a circumstance of a kind of doubt of what he meant, and that's what Rabbi Yossi said, but the Mishnah is saying not like that. Kamash Malon, the Mishnah is teaching us not like that. That a person will bring himself into a situation of suffix. It's possible that the person would phrase it in a way where it's not really clear which daughter it is referring to, and that is what the Mishnah is teaching us. It's exactly what happened in this situation. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come in here, another proof. This is from a Mishnah in Yevamos, Misha Kiddush Achas Mishtei Achayos. If somebody's Mekadesh one of two sisters, Ve'eno Yodea Ezo Kiddush, he doesn't know which one he was Mekadesh, no sen get lazu, ve'get lazu, he has to give a get to this one, and he has to give a get to the other one. And so you see over here as well, in this situation, he was Mekadesh one of two sisters. It's not a Kiddushin HaMesur and Labia, he can't have relations with her, because she might actually be the sister of the woman that he was Mekadesh, and therefore it seems from here that the Kiddushin is effective, and it seems to be a question on Rava. And the Gemara answers, Hacha b'mayaskin, and here what are we talking about? Kishukru levasof nisarv, with the same answer as before. Originally, at the time of the Kiddushin, it was clear which sister he was Mekadesh, then it got mixed up later on, and so in such a situation, again, with each sister, there's a suffix, whether there's a Kiddushin, and he has to give a get to each one. And the Gemara says, Dekanami will bring a proof from the wording of the Mishnah as well, to Katani, because it says in the Mishnah, Eino Yodeh, he doesn't know, Velo Katani Eino Yodua, it doesn't say it's not known. It sounds like, again, it was known at the time, it just became mixed up later on. But the Gemara continues, Ihachi, if so, Maila Memra, so what's the chiddush of the Mishnah? If the Mishnah is talking about a situation where he was Mekadesh one of the two sisters and we just don't know which one he was Mekadesh, of course he has to give a get to both sisters. What's the chiddush? And the Gemara answers, the chiddush is Seifa Tzrichale. The chiddush really is from the end of that Mishnah. The end of that Mishnah is what was necessary to teach, because the end of the Mishnah says, Mace, let's say the person dies, Veloach Echad, and he has one brother, so the halach is Cholitz L'shtei, and the halach is he has to do Chalitza with both of them. The issue over here is, let's say he does chalitza with the first sister, and it turns out that that actually is the sister that was married to his brother, and there should have been yibam over there or chalitza, but then the halach is he can't marry the other sister. That's called achos chalutza, the sister of the woman that a person did chalitza with, and that's asr midrabanan. That's why he has to do chalitza to both of them. He doesn't know which one is the sister that was actually married to his brother. And then the Mishnah continues, Hayu lo shnayim, let's say the person has two brothers, so then echad choletz v'echad miyavim. So then one brother can do chalitza and the other brother actually can do yibum, because there's no halacha of achos chalutza if the brother himself, it's not the same person that did the chalitza. Meaning to say, if there's one brother and he did chalitza with one of the sisters, then there's a halacha of achos chalutza. He's not allowed to marry the sister of his chalutza, but he is allowed to marry the sister of his brother's chalutza. And so therefore, echad choletz, one of them does chalitza first, one of the sisters will do chalitza first to one of the brothers, v'echad miyavim, and then the other sister is able to actually do yibum to the other brother. If that actually is the sister that was married to the brother that died, then certainly the yibum would be good. And even if it's not the sister, even if it's not actually the woman that was married to the brother that died, so it's still not a problem. He's allowed to marry her. It's not a problem of achos chalutza, because it's not his chalutza. It's the other brother that did the chalitza with the other sister. And it says, in kidmu v'kinsur, now if they both went ahead and they both ended up marrying the two sisters, so in that situation, ein motziin osam miyadam, we don't force them to divorce in that situation, because again, achos chalutz is only asr midrabanan, and we're not going to force them to divorce in such a situation. If one of them accidentally ended up marrying achos chalutza, we're not going to say that is an issue. We're not going to say that is an issue that forces a divorce. And the point is that the chiddush of the Mishnah is dafka michlatz v'hadr yivume, that when there are two brothers, you have to do it in that order. First, one of the brothers does chalitza, then the other brother can take the other sister and do yibum with her. Avol yibume v'hadr michlatz lo. But if it's going to be yibum first, and then the other one's going to do chalitza, that's a problem. To kapaga ba'achos zekukasu, because then that's already a problem again. Because at the time he's doing the yibum, that might be the sister of the woman that he's bound with. Again, that's essentially the same problem as achos chalutza. The sister of the woman you're bound to, or the sister of your own chalutza, that is prohibited, and that's why you don't do the yibum first and then the chalitza. Rather, you have one brother do the chalitza first. That removes the issue of achos zekukaso, achos chalutzaso. That issue is taken care of, and then the second brother can do yibum with the second sister. And Rashi explains, Seifu, it's the end of that Mishnah that's necessary, the Katani, because it says at the end of that Mishnah, Hayu Shnayim, Echad Choletz v'Echad Miyavim. It says, let's say there were two brothers, so again, one brother does Chalitza and the second one does the Yibam. Well, Ashminan Dafka Hachi, and it's to teach us that it has to be specifically in this order. Mechlatz Chad Minayu L'chad Bereisha, one of the brothers does Chalitza with one of the sisters first. V'Hadr Miyavim Sheina L'Shniya, then the second brother can do Yibam with the second sister. And the reason why that works is Mimanavshach, that works either way you look at it. If for the second brother doing the yibum with the second sister, if that actually is the arus hazachiv, that actually is the proper woman to do a yibum with, so shaper miyavim, so it's a good yibum. V'im lav, and let's say it's not the one that was married to the deceased brother, but still it's not a problem. Nachrus bialmahi, it's just a girl that he's allowed to marry. It's a regular marriage. Ve'ena achos yevemtu azakukalo, that's not a problem of this is the sister of his sister-in-law that's bound to him, to have a damyol achos ishta, which is similar to the sister of his wife. That's not true over here. Because since the brother did chalitza with her already, that bond has been broken. The gezerah on a sister of a chalutza, that gezerah of achos chalutza after chalitza, that gezerah only applies to the brother who actually did the chalitza. It doesn't apply to the other brother. To kapaga ba'achos zukuka, that's considered already the sister of the woman that he's bound with. Now, if one of the two brothers didn't do chalitza yet, asura achosa, then the sister is prohibited, al kulan, on all of them. Midivreim, again, that's all midrabanan, mishum dedam yalachos ishto, because it's similar to the sister of his wife. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here another proof, and this is also from the Mishnah in Yevamos, Shnayim shekitshu shtei achayis, let's say you have two men, these are two men who are not related, and they're mekadesh, two sisters, ze eno yodea ezo kiddush, this man doesn't know which one of the two sisters he was mekadesh, ze eno yodea ezo kiddush, and the other man also doesn't know which one of the two sisters he was mekadesh. So the halach is zen nosen shnei gittin. This one gives two gittin, v'zen nosen shnei gittin, and the other one also gives two gittin. So again, you see from here the kiddushin seem to be effective, even though it's kiddushin shelo nimsru labia. It's kiddushin that cannot lead to an act of relations because they don't know whether this girl is the one they married or this is the sister of the one they married. And the Gemara gives the same answer as before. Hachanami shehukru ulevasof nisarvu. Here also the case is that originally they did know who they married. It was just later that it got mixed up, and that's why each one has to give two git, and each one has to give a get to each sister. And the Gemara says again, Dekanami, we have a proof also from the language of the Mishnah, the Katani, because it says in the Mishnah, Eno Yodeya, it says he doesn't know. Velo Katani, Ein Yodu, it doesn't say it's not known, it wasn't known. Shma Mina, so you see from this that there was a point in time where it was known, it just later became forgotten, later it became mixed up, and again, that's why both of them need to receive a get from both men. And the Gemara continues, Yachi, if so, my lamemer. So again, what's the chiddush? Obviously, you have a situation over here of Safek Kiddushin, and that's how we deal with all Safek Kiddushin, is that everybody involved needs to give a get. And the Gemara answers again, Seifu, it's Tzrichale, it's the end of that Mishnah in Yavamas that is necessary. We need to teach the chiddush at the end of the Mishnah. Meis, let's say each of the men die, V'laze'ach, V'laze'ach. So if each one has just one brother, so then the halach is, Zechol it's l'shtein, V'zechol it's l'shtein. This brother should do chalitza with both women, and the other brother should also do chalitza with both women, because again, each brother does not know which woman is actually his Yavam, is the sister-in-law that he's supposed to either do Yibam or chalitza with, so they both do chalitza with both of them. And then the Mishnah continues, Lo zeh echad, let's say one of the men who died just has one brother, V'lo zeh shnayim, and the other one who died has two brothers. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph.